Well, if you're surprised to see after what I said in the last video and other parts of this series, be it. Because as you can see, the August of 1939 Style 5A movement is running now. And the February of 1948 Style 5 movement behind it is also running. And if you look the drawer behind there, I did go and dig up parts to have a complete running movement now with the correct parts and everything. And as for the running, I did this off camera. I didn't even think about it. I just sort of did it on a lark. But I took some oil here and I oiled the third wheel pivots. I oiled the fourth wheel pivots, the escape wheel pivots. I left the lever pivots dry. I oiled the balance pivots, a drop of oil on the impulse pin, and nothing. And then every other tooth of the escape wheel, and you have what you see here. And pretty interesting what's going on here. Pretty interesting that the motion on this one has picked up a little bit. And I think it adds a lot to that statement that you will often see eBay sellers do this kind of thing with clocks that they are selling. They won't go through the steps to take a movement apart and clean it and service it like I showed in the video series I did where I tore one of these 5A movements apart. But sometimes if the spring is good, even though the movement's filthy, you can stick some oil on there and you can get the clock to run. And obviously the movements are inverted from their normal running position. This is not the position they would be in when they would run. But it's very possible when I flip these things over, like I'm about to do, that they would continue to run just fine. And so I'm sort of doing that right now. We'll see how this goes. We still have functioning movements or not. And as you can see, this one here, the cleaner of the two, is still ticking along quite happily, but this one back here, the one that just looks like it came up out of the bottom of a lake somewhere, is just give it a chance to get stabilized before I talk too much, because it was just barely moving there. It's picked up a little bit now, but it's still not near as happy as it was a moment ago. And like I said, this is very close to the position it would be running in when it's in the assembled clock. Go back to this one. But that's very remarkable. That thing acted like it was just, you know, it would need a total teardown and cleaning before, and just a few drops of oil later, and you would think it had just gotten done being cleaned or something, almost. Look at it. That's pretty remarkable. So I think that serves as a pretty fair warning to buyers of these clocks. And I know a lot of eBay sellers advertise on YouTube. I know there's a lot of eBay sellers that say, oh, you know, we take the clock apart and service it and everything. And, well, it's not too hard to just, you know, take the back of the case off sometimes and use a long needle oiler and stick it in there and squirt some oil between the back of the dial and the front of the movement, and just get enough wet on there that it will run again. But that's what's going on. I have not taken this movement apart to clean it. And let's revert the movements back to the position they were just a second ago, standing up. And just out of curiosity, I know how much time I have left on the camera here. Just out of curiosity, let's we don't need you alarming. Let's put a little bit of oil on the filthy movement here and see what it does. Let's get a good sort of a baseline here on what the motion is on this one. You see it's just sort of ticking along, just barely running. So we're not gonna do any cleaning. We're just gonna pretend that we're an eBay seller here, and do the third, fourth, and escape wheel. And I'll even do both ends, third, fourth, and escape wheel. And normally you don't oil the lever. I'm not gonna do the lever, and we'll see. And then I'll pretend to be a clueless eBay seller and oil the lever and see what happens. Make sure I can. I'm using a lot of oil here. And let's see how that does, and then we'll do every other tooth of the escape wheel and see what happens. And so that's actually pretty poor. You see how the impulse pin is just barely coming out. I mean, the balance. I've seen sometimes where these will run, where it'll run, but you'll just see it moving slowly, just enough for it to tick. It might actually run worse since I oiled it now because it's so dirty. Okay, let's do every other escape wheel tooth now. So, being a eBay seller here, and really, I'm being a good eBay seller because I'm not hosing it down like, you know, I don't have the dial here trying to soak the dial in oil. Okay, as you can see on this one, I actually think I've made it a little bit worse. Let's let it run a little bit and see what it does. If this movement were relatively clean like this one, the oil would probably do quite a bit. But the balance is brisk, but the motion is not very wide on this movement. I think that's important to note. But I notice it is wanting to pick up. Can you see that too? It is picking up. I'm actually seeing the impulse pin leaving the fork slot now. So that's pretty interesting. I've only maybe got 2 minutes left before the video is going to cut off. So let's just sort of watch that and see how well it does, if it picks up much more. No, it's not. I have the feeling that the repeat lever is interacting with that third wheel a little bit because that's out of adjustment. Anyway, well, that's the real star of the show right there. I oiled this movement
just like you saw me oil the filthy one, and that was what the result. It went from not running at all like it was in the last video to running like this. Anyway, this has been Oklahoma Bridges. Please share your comments below on this little, series, the Dirty Movement Detour. And as always, thank you for watching.